Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RDX Sports Podcast. I'm Simon Head, and joining me on this special edition of the show, one of the best middleweights in Europe, and definitely one of the best middleweights not signed to one of the truly major global organisations. Norbert Novenyi Jr. is joining us from his car. Norby, where are you, mate?
I'm literally in Hungary. I'm with my dad. He's driving me. We're going to see my grandparents on my mum's side, just because when I'm in Hungary, I try to go see everyone quickly. I'm here for 3 days and then back to work. Then going back to London and back to work.
Awesome. So you've got your dad chauffeuring you about the place. This is awesome.
Basically. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's annoying because here I can't drive. Obviously, I learned how to drive in England. And it's on the other side of the road. So I just don't feel comfortable driving for like 2 hours. Don't want to crash the car.
Yeah, I can't talk. I failed my driving test twice, so I'm deaf. I can't comment whatsoever. Seeing as your dad's in the car, this is a good entry point, right, to sort of start you off. Yeah. You've got some lineage in this combat sports game, right? So talk to us about how you got into all of this in the first place. Obviously, your dad had an incredible athletic career himself. So talk to us about that and how you ended up getting involved in combat sports to start with.
So funny enough, I'm a third or fourth generational fighter. So I think my granddad's dad wrestled as well. But actually, I can find out now quickly in Hungarian, if you don't mind. So his granddad was like a several times Hungarian national champion wrestler. Then obviously his dad became a wrestler, as in my dad's dad. So my dad's granddad was a wrestler. Then my dad's dad was a very good wrestler. So he won world titles. He qualified to 2 Olympics, but he didn't want to give a trophy to the communist leaders. He also slammed up a communist leader, quite a funny story. So they never took him to one of his Olympics. He was literally on his way to the Olympics, and at the airport, as he's about to board the flight, they were like, "Well, you didn't give us the trophy, so you're not allowed to come." And then there was another one where he qualified, and then again the leadership, they said that he's got some medical issue. They need to cut his leg off. And then my granddad was like, "You don't cut my leg off, are you mad?" And yeah, it's just the politics behind there. And then obviously there was nothing wrong with his leg. They were just they did not want to take him. Then actually my granddad got into boxing and became national champion in boxing. And then he got into WWE wrestling, and it was tour in Europe. And then obviously he started coaching my dad and a lot of others as well. He was the first coach or first person in Hungarian wrestling to bring in female wrestling in Hungary. So even to this day, every year there's a women's only wrestling tournament named after my dad, after my granddad. And then obviously my dad got into wrestling through him. Then he got into kickboxing. He won WACO World and European Championships. Then he got into MMA and Jiu-Jitsu and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's been a pretty decent lineage of just fighters. So it's nice to be able to represent my name.
So you're basically in the family business. The family business is combat sports and fighting and all the rest of it. How did you find yourself over in London and embarking on a career in mixed martial arts?
So for me, I always knew that I had to go to another country in terms of to be able to improve in fighting, to achieve my dream of becoming a world champion. It's just in Hungary, MMA is still not big. Do you get what I mean? But even when I started out, it was very, I wouldn't say underground, but not very known. And that was only 15 years ago or something, or 16 years ago. So not a long time ago. And, my mom, due to a lot of family issues with her partner and stuff like that, she had to kind of just run away from the country, run away from the guy. And she had some friends in England. So she moved out first. In the meantime, I lived with my grandparents. I lived with my dad. My siblings were living with my grandparents. And then when my mom set everything up, we end up coming out. And then at first I came out thinking like, listen, worst case, if I can't find a good gym, then I'll just stay out for a year. I'll learn how to speak English properly. I'll pick up the language and I'll come back and keep training with my dad. And who would have thought that I would find London Shootfighters, which are the best team in the world, honestly, the best coaching in the world. So yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Hajtsó ki a jobb oldali kijáraton.
In terms of London Shootfighters, I think on a previous interview that you'd done, you said that you looked at a few different gyms and London Shoot was probably the one like furthest away from where you were. What was it that made you pick that gym in particular? And what was it about that gym that made you think this is the one that's going to be the right one for me?
Yeah, so I had a few gyms closer to me and stuff like that, but London Shoot was 2 hours. It was 3 buses for me to get there. When I walked in, there was just a certain like atmosphere, like an eerie atmosphere to the gym, something that was just telling me that this place is serious, something more than all the other ones. Do you get what I mean? Especially all the other ones as well, because I was like 14 years old and like being up adults when I went to those gyms, everyone straight away started like being very welcoming, which is nice. But when I got to London Shoot, they were like, yeah, whatever. Like it wasn't something new. But I felt like the other gyms, like that was a new thing, like 14-year-old being up adults. Whereas the coaches at London Shoot were like, yeah, whatever. And to me, they'd been showing that, okay, this is not their first rodeo. Like they've seen this before. So yeah, I guess this is where I have to be. So, yeah, I just stuck to it, and then this is where we're at now.
How early in your time in the UK was that? How comfortable were you with English, and were you properly settled by the time you got to London Shoot? Were you still kind of settling in the UK and sort of developing your English at the time?
Yeah, so luckily I could speak English already. Like I wasn't, like fully like fresh. But yeah, obviously it wasn't that great. I think I moved here on the 27th of January 2014. And I think that was around March, first time, so like 2 months into it, I'd say. So it's still quite new. Still, I feel like because I couldn't express myself properly, I might have come across as a bit of an arsehole.
How was that settling in? Because when you join a gym, especially when you're joining a team, and it's a professional fight team. It's not just a gym, right? So you've got to kind of earn your stripes and earn the respect of the people there before you get sort of fully accepted into the group. So how was that process like? Because there's some big characters and some established people who've been in the game for a long time. That's probably one of the longest tenured MMA gyms in the south of England for sure. And you can't just walk in and become part of the team overnight, can you? So how was that process?
So funny enough, I remember I first walked in, I just said, I'm here for the pro class. And they were like, have you had fights? And I said, yeah, I did. I had an amateur fight at the time. And I thought when they said beginners classes, they meant as in like people that had never done it before. So I walked in, big old 14-year-old Norbert, walking, I'm here for the pro class. And they were like, have you had a fight? I was like, yeah, and then one amateur fight. They were like, cool, don't worry about the pro class for now. Go jump in for the wrestling class. That was my first session. And then I just kept going. And obviously, because I was always in school, I was always just going to the evening classes. And at one half term, I went down to one of the daytime classes where all the pros were there. And I'm not going to name him, but this is a guy that fought for UFC belt a couple of times. He used to train at London Shoot. He was there at the time. And obviously, at the time, it wasn't the UFC yet. But he was already one of the pros. And we're doing wrestling takedowns. And I took him down in front of Alexis first, my one of my head coaches. And then he was like, just looked at me. He's like, okay. Then I took him down again in front of my other head coach, Paul. And he goes like, Alexis, he just took this person down. And Alexis was like, yeah, I saw that. And I think that's when they clocked like, okay, cool. Like this kid is okay. And over time, we just kept going. Probably I had a big mouth, probably talking a lot, probably. So they were like, okay, cool, let's see what he's about. And I remember when I was 15, just before I broke up for my summer after or my school holiday, they were like, listen, come down to the morning pro class. And yeah, I remember I did my first pro class. I had to spar, and I tapped out one of the pro guys. Alexis was like, cool, you got the Versa Climber, which is, if you ever done Versa Climber, is the most horrendous machine ever. And I started climbing. I remember Alexis was like, are you going to give up? Are you going to give up? I'm like, I'm not going to give up. And then he goes, the girl behind the desk, she does 8 or 900, said the number. Like, if you don't get there, you're going to have to go spar again. And I remember I was like, okay. And I started, like, my eyes started tearing up. It was really funny. And that was like my first time actually in a pro class. And that's how I got into the London Shoot Pro team at 15. So it's pretty cool.
That's outstanding. And now, you know, obviously you've built up that relationship with the guys in the gym, and I know one of the people that you're probably the most associated with is Michael Venom Page, right? You know, he's been in your corner for a lot of your fights. Talk to me about the relationship you've built with him and what he's meant to you as you've progressed through your career so far.
Yeah, Michael's been like a big brother for me. And to be fair, probably, as much as I've obviously picked up his striking style and stuff like that, I think I've learned just as much, if not more, outside the cage from him. You know, we used to hang out a lot. Now he's a married man, so he's got less time with the boys. Back in the days, so Michael's very, like, we've always been very close. He's always been a big brother to me, but he was. I think the most impact he's made on me when I had my ACL injury in 2021. I was supposed to fight Charlie Ward in Bellator Dublin, and I had to pull out because I tore my ACL. Mike was really there for me in that time. I didn't fight for 3 years, and, you know, I spent a lot of time with Michael. You know, I slept in his house a lot. I went to his mom's house, had his mom's food and stuff like that. And I think that's when we got even closer. We like I said, we've always been very close. We fought on the same cards, and, you know, I slept in his house before, but I think that time when I did my ACL, that's when we really got on, like, onto that, like, proper brotherly level. And honestly, Mike was like a big brother to me.
Yeah, and you obviously fought on the same promotion for a fair while at Bellator when you were both at Bellator. You fought almost all of your career in the UK, right? I mean, obviously, when you were with Bellator, they had shows around the world, and you fought, you know, across the world with them. But you've had your career here in the UK, and you lived and trained here in the UK. You say you consider yourself a British fighter as much as a Hungarian fighter now.
Yeah, I say to people all the time, fortunately, I feel a lot more English. So I'm a lot more of a sorry boy than a Hungarian guy, to be honest with you. But yeah, you know, it's Hungary is always going to be my home. That's where I've come from. But at the same time, England is my home, if that makes sense. England, you know, I love England. I love the people. All my friends are there. You know, half my families are there. So yeah, like I said, like both of my homes, and I just feel like I belong to both, and maybe a little bit more to England now at this point.
And something I wanted to ask you about, because we've spoken sort of away from interviews and stuff, and I'm fascinated to know about where you see your career right now and what you want out of your career. Because obviously you came up, you know, you had some fights on the UK scene. You then got signed to Bellator, and you had this run in Bellator where I think people were really starting to wake up to you as someone who could become a sort of a top world level fighter. And you had the injury that obviously ruled you out of the big fight with Charlie, which at the time would have been a huge fight in Ireland. You bounced back. You had some more fights. You had that really, really close decision loss to Dalton Roster, and everyone can see where he is right now. You know, he was fighting for a tournament title last year. He's was one fight away from a PFL title this year. That was a fight that easily could have gone your way, and that's the only loss you've had. and now you're fighting in France with Hexagone. So what's the overall aim for you? Is your aim to get onto the world stage and become a champion in one of the big organizations? Is it just to create a legacy, sort of fighting wherever you can, wherever you can? Is it about amassing as much income as you can to provide for family? What's the overall motivation for you right now?
Yeah, that roster fight is very annoying. It's something I think about every single day because I just lost my mind in that fight. So I had a very good camp. I trained with some UFC champions, and I started that fight. Well, I went into that fight knowing that I'm like the best in the world. I'm the best middleweight in the world. And sorry about that. It's just my dad's sat nav. um, yeah. So I think, honestly, he can't. My dad is very funny. He gets lost everywhere he goes, and because I'm not helping with direction right now. He got lost. So like he's next to me, he's trying to be quiet, but I can see he's fuming. It's very, very good. Uh, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna fix this now. I just
Az útkereszt
pressing the phone all over the place, and yeah, it's all good, all good. Yeah, so I went into that fight, that roster fight, just not that I was overconfident, but I was like, I'm gonna smack this guy up and then go UFC, and then everyone's gonna know who I am. Um, and if you watch the fight, you can tell the first 2 rounds I threw, I think, one or two front hands. I've got big, like I trust my back and I've got a decent amount of power, and I just got carried away. My brain just wasn't working. Um, and then obviously the third round I picked up. That's when I actually woke up in the fight. But I feel like it was a blessing in disguise because even though I was ready for the big shows back then, well, going UFC or whatnot back then, um, I was, clearly had a couple issues with my thinking, with my mentality in the fight. So obviously, when that fight happened, I was trying to bounce back. I was asking for fights from Bellator, but obviously the PFL merger was happening and all that kind of stuff. So I had to ask for my release. It's just I was sitting while I was with Bellator, I was sitting out a year in between fights, and in 8 years with Bellator, I think I had like 7 fights or 6 fights. So I couldn't have that experience that I wanted. When I got released, obviously, funny how it worked out because Hexagone was doing a show in Hungary. And as I was negotiating for my release, started asking about me, but obviously I couldn't say nothing to them because I'm still signed to Bellator. And then once I got my release, that's when we sat down and were like, listen, I'm free. I'm a free agent now. If you guys want to sign me, it's time to sign me now. And then I can headline the shows. And now I'm always in this tournament with Hexagon. But UFC is definitely a goal. I know I've trained with UFC World Champions. I know I can be UFC World Champion. However, there are a lot of other promotions that are coming up that are not necessarily like what you would call like a major MMA organization. But there's Misfits, for obviously they do boxing. There's MVP, they're doing a big show on Netflix. So you get all these big organizations that are coming through. So we'll see. But yeah, the dream is the one that's everyone else's dream as well. So I just need to get there before them.
So is if you were to get a phone call, I mean, obviously you're in this Hexagon tournament right now, right? Is it the final? You've just made it through to the final, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to the final now. Yeah.
So you've had 3 fights for Hexagon, 3 first round finishes, and now you're in the final of the tournament. You win that tournament. When's that? Is that September? The next one.
Sorry, say that again.
When's the final? September?
No, it's June. So 8 weeks.
June. Okay, so it's a quick turnaround.
Well, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. Yeah.
So you've got the tournament. So you could be available potentially to to make a switch in the late summer if all went well.
Yeah.
And would you accept an offer if they said come and fight on the Contender Series?
No, I don't want to go on Contender Series. I don't really want to go on Contender Series. I think I've done enough in terms of listen. With Hexagone, I've sold out 3 arenas now. So I've sold out 3 arenas. I've got a decent amount of following. You know, I'm 10-1. That's with 5 subs, 4 knockouts. The 1 decision win is just full of knockdowns against Will Fleury, and then my loss against Dalton Roster again. I'm knocked him down like 3 times in the last round. So I think I should be able to go straight, and that's where I'm aiming to be. Going, I'm trying to go straight into UFC. I think it's a little bit better look as well. A little bit of a better look.
So the aim of the game eventually then is to get to the UFC, fight for a world title, and capture a championship belt. Are there other goals that you have within your combat sports career? Are there other things that you want to achieve? Are there individual fights that you would love to have, or other combat sports you want to compete in?
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect to Hamza, because we trained with each other, but I think that fight is something, or it's a weird one because we train with each other now. So I don't think he's gonna be around when I get to that world title. I feel like he's probably gonna move up or something. But that's definitely a fight I'd love. But then if it doesn't happen, again, it won't be the end of the world because I've already trained with him. So I've already measured my skill set to the best in the world. So that's an individual level. Obviously, my aim is that I want to be remembered as one of the greatest athletes ever, or greatest combat athletes ever. So if I can fight the greats, that's super important. And I think for me, that's where it's at. Just being able to train, not train, so being able to get my hands on the best guys in the world. You know what? That's literally, and obviously outside of that, I just want my coach to give me a black belt. But I don't think he's gonna give that to me until I've got world titles. So even at black belt level, he doesn't like giving out black belts. He doesn't like giving out black belts. So when he gives me a black belt, that's gonna be that's gonna be the sign of him, saying that okay, cool, now you're on that level, like that world class level, and that's where I'm trying to head to. I'm trying to head to greatness, both as a fighter and as a person.
It'll mean you've really earned it once you get it, right? If it's proving that hard to get, when you do get it, it just means all the more, doesn't it? So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's outside of having a world title, a UFC title, that's probably my biggest plan. And obviously money is good as well, but there's some money comes and goes. I don't really care about money. When I left PFL, then I left a lot of money there. Do you get what I mean? So I think money comes as well if people can see your skills. I think for me, honestly, it's all about greatness, leaving that legacy, and being remembered in 50 years as one of the greatest combat athletes. So that's where my head's at. But maybe
you mentioned Pit. Oh,
sorry.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I said maybe just my youth.
Right. Yeah. No, I think you mentioned PFL there, and obviously, you were on the Bellator roster before, just as that switch over was happening. And there's even rumors they might go called Bellator again, or that could happen in the not too distant future, from what I've heard. But if at some point that door was open to you again, is that something you would consider if the offer was right, going back and fighting for them again?
Yeah, if the offer was right, I really liked working with the Bellator guys, and obviously a lot of the people from Bellator are in PFL right now. So I've always liked the team. Kogan always been lovely and very helpful as well. Anytime I needed help with anything, it was always there. So definitely something that I would consider if the offer is right. But again, my eyes are somewhere else right now. But again, it's I can't be so, what's the right word for it? I can't just focus on one thing. I think there are so many options, and I'm starting to realize that life tends to give you certain things for a reason, you know? So I think I have to be a little bit open-minded with where I want to go and, consider all my options.
100%, 100%. So you mentioned MVP as well. Obviously, they're breaking into MMA now, but it looks to me like they're probably going to be putting on what I would call like showpiece events, right? Rather than have a roster where they're then having rankings and championships. That it's a big leap from doing one-off events to being able to run a proper promotion with divisions and all the rest of it. So how do you view them in the space? Is that something that if you got a good offer and you were a free agent at the time, that would be a good earning opportunity and good exposure, and then you go back to potentially chasing the world championship dream after that?
Yeah, I mean, if financially it all makes sense, then yeah, I'd be happy to try out different routes. Then, like I said, I have to be open-minded. Like I have to look at obviously the finances as well. As much as I'm not based on money, but if I get a very good offer from one of these shows, then yeah, why not? Why not?
No, that makes sense. One thing I did want to ask you about, you mentioned when you joined Hexagone, you got to fill an arena and walk out there in Hungary. What was that experience like for you? You say MMA isn't massive in Hungary, but to be able to headline an occasion like that and have all those people come out and fill an arena, what was that experience like for you, walking out on fight night in front of a packed crowd?
Yeah, you know what? It was so interesting because I didn't expect it. Um, I done 2 shows in Hungary. Actually, it's 3 shows. I did my first Bellator one, and the Bellator was quite small, so it wasn't full of people. It was still full, but it wasn't that crazy. So I expected something similar. When I walked out the first Hungary card, it was just nuts. It was like 5,000 people, but obviously it was sold out. And yeah, everyone was really enjoying it. They were loving the show. And I just started blowing up in Hungary straight after. Like everything that was posted on social media kept going viral. And then I had my second fight. There was like 8,000 people. Again, arena packed out. And then you get the same thing. I feel like I'm the first combat athlete in Hungary who's a little bit in the mainstream media and life in the country. And then obviously my last one was in France, in Nantes. And again, that was packed out. Again, probably like 5,000 people, sold out. So all of these are like, yeah, it's just great just before I go into a big organization, just take that extra pressure off of me. It's nice, especially hometown. Everyone wants you to win. It's super important.
Yeah, and obviously when you're building your, if we're looking at the overall plan of making it to like the biggest stage in the sport, if you've got this resume that says you're playing in front of packed houses and winning fights that are in front of several thousands of people, it tells people that you're ready for the big stage. I mean, you already know that you're ready, but to people from the outside looking in, it shows that you've got that big arena experience.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I fought in bigger arenas when I fought for Bellator. So when I fought in Dublin, there was like 11,000 people or something like that. I've never personally filled that arena. That's an arena. And now I've done it 3 times. So that just shows that my brand is pretty solid as well. So I now I can see that my brand's actually like brings people in, not just, fake followers. Do you get what I mean? If that makes sense. But it actually translates quite well. It's like I can monetize it in terms of like bringing people in to watch me. So I think that's a good look as well when organizations want to sign me, because you see a lot of fighters, but they can't sell our arena. Whether they were champions or fight for there are major organizations that can't fill up an arena. They've got like 1,000 people max in the arena. Whereas me, I'm like, people want to come see me fight. And I think that says something about my style as well. I've got fun style to watch.
100%. And you've got You're on this run with Hexagone at the moment. What's the contractual situation with them? Obviously, you're in the middle of this tournament, so presumably you run through the end of this tournament. What happens after that?
Well, I've got one more fight, but I do have a UFC release clause. UFC release clause. But yeah, I've got one more fight, which is the final, and then we'll see. To be honest with you, I do like Hexagone. You know, I do like them. I always say to them, like, I've always been a fan of French music, French culture, French food. So the fact that I can build a little bit of a following is pretty nice. And the team is lovely. Like, honestly, the Hexagone team overall is super lovely. Whatever help I need, they always help straight away. So if life's, says that, oh, you have to stay with Hexagone a bit longer, then I don't mind staying with them longer. But right now, I have one more fight on my contract, which is the final, but I also have a UFC release clause in my contract.
Awesome. And so you've got, was it June you said the tournament final?
Yeah, June 12th. So yeah, June 12th, I think, yeah. In Lyon, France, yeah.
Awesome. And then in an ideal world, let's fast forward 12 months. If I talk to you again, I know this is April Fool's Day, but we'll skip over. Imagine I'm talking to you at the beginning of April 2027. Where do you want your career to be, and what do you want to have achieved between the phone call we're having now and the one that we'll have next year?
Potentially already 2 fights in the UFC at least, and some viral knockouts, and people talking about me, as that guy, that scary guy that's coming up, and no one really wants to fight. That's where I want to be. That's why I'm working so hard, so I can be that guy.
Awesome. Well, look, I wish you all the best in this tournament finale that you've got coming up in June. And thank you so much for chatting to us on the RDX Sports podcast.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, by the way, let me finish this. Like, when I get to UFC, I just want everyone to know that a big part of it is going to be for Abby as well. Abby Summit. Like, I think about him every day, and when I think about UFC, it's partially for him as well, because he really wanted me to be there. And we spoke about it at the funeral as well, so I got to do it for him as well.